with Kyle Evans. Grow with Kyle Evans.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet. Welcome back to another episode of the G.R.O.W Show. Guys, your daily checkup from the neck up. Here we go. We are continuing our journey into Papasan's The Rookie Real Estate Agent. If you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't read it, if you haven't smelt it, go pick a copy up. Good stuff, man. We've been taking away nuggets each and every day, making sure that we are honoring the business that we're building and doing it the right way. This week, or today, I should say, today we're on chapter 4. It's called Becoming a Market Expert. I think that we, as veteran agents, as middle journeyman agents, as rookie agents, all have a lot of room we can grow and things that we can add on and increase in this area. For instance, on this idea here, I love this quote. I'm going to read it to you. It's from Jen Davis. Shout out, Jen. Amazing human being, awesome business person. It says, real estate is a relational business. The value we offer isn't friendship. The value is knowledge. Our knowledge is market knowledge and how we communicate it. How are you communicating your market knowledge? Do you even have it? Do you have enough of it? Another quote here from Gary says, when people want, I love this. When people want experienced agents, they are wanting expertise and professionalism. If you've ever been out there and you've heard, hey, I just want a really experienced agent, you might not be the case. Or how many homes did you sell in this market? What I'm looking for is someone who is an expert. The underlying message there is not that you haven't done enough deals. The underlying message is, I want expertise and professionalism. Can we communicate that? Are we showing that? Just because you weren't listing homes 5 years ago doesn't mean you can't interpret how home values have changed in the past 5 years. One of my best objection handlers to that, if you're a younger cat, maybe 5 years or less in the business, maybe heck 10 years or less, and someone's like, well, we're going to go with this person, or we're thinking about this person, they've been doing it for decades. A great objection handler that is, hey, I love that, and this isn't the market of 20 years ago. This isn't even the market of 5 years ago. This is the market of the moment. And Mr. or Mrs. Seller, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, I am an expert in the market of this moment. And we're going to dive in today on some of the things that you can use into your advantage to prove that you are the expert in the market of the moment. But to understand that, we have to understand the question that we get almost all the time. How is the market? My reply to that is always, it's great. Why do you ask? It's that simple. Hey, how's the market? It's great. The truth of the matter is, no matter what market we are in, it's great for somebody. But you have to understand why they're asking in the first place to correlate if that it's great for them or if it's an opportunity for them, because it very well may not, but it very well might be. So we have 3 main types of markets, and you should know this right now: balanced market, buyer's market, and a seller's market. A balanced market, from the pages of the book here on page 40, is one where supply and demand are pretty equal. Supply and demand are pretty equal. A buyer's market is when seller supply exceeds demand. When seller supply exceeds demand, when you have too many listings on the market and not enough buyers, that's when you're in a buyer's market. The buyers tend to have control. Seller's market, which is where a lot of people are leaving and transitioning towards that balanced market. A seller's market is when buyer demand exceeds seller supply. Do you know which type of market that you are in? Is it a seller's market, a buyer's market, or a balanced market? And more than just that, do you know where you're going? What is the trend dictating? I think for a lot of us, it's going to be heading towards that balanced market. And some of us might be even further on the train tracks there, heading to a buyer's market. But you got to know if you're going to be able to explain these things to people. One of the things that we know and love about real estate, and I say love with air quotes, fascinating, is that it's always shifting. It's never the same. Markets shift. And I'll read you this quote in this book because it's so good. And I think you should tattoo it on your heart and your brain here. And Marcus, you're going to love this one. I think stronger agents will actually thrive in worse or shifting markets. They'll dig deeper and take more market share because of their ability to be an expert in that marketplace. What do you think about that, bro?
It's so cool that we're talking about this today here recently in the Market Center. Wait, let me pause for just a second. When Kyle says stronger agents, he doesn't mean seasoned agents. He means agents who decide to focus on the right things to educate their clients in an arena in which others are not. I'll give you two examples from this week alone. We had one of our most dynamic luxury agents do a buyer presentation, forgive me, a listing presentation, and they sat down. I was the actor as the client, and they sat down and they had four magazines like stacked on top of all the listing presentation. They were like, look at what we do to highlight. And I was like, wow. And then I became a little bit of a jerk, okay? Because I took that beautiful magazine with their listing and everything that was on it, and I flipped the page and I said, look, an agent's doing exactly what you're doing. No comeback. Destroyed in the moment, right? Everybody thinks I need to be flashy. I need to do this. I need to do that. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. It's not that. Know your education around the market. Be a professional. We then moved into a conversation around leading and lagging markets and indicators, because here in the Northeast, we are a lagging market and have been historically. So what could an agent do right now in our market to educate what may be transpiring in the future? Do we have a crystal ball to know when exactly? No. But can I make them dangerous to say, hey, history has done this 4 or 5 times. I have to think it's going to repeat itself. And what that may mean over the next 6 months is X. So how do you want to perform in this market based on this new information that no one else is telling you and a magazine ain't going to highlight?
Let's go. But hey, dude, if you don't know, you can't say,
Thank
right?
you.
Don't know, you can't say. We talked about this, I believe it was yesterday. It was one of the days this week about how we should be leaning into the education
Yes, sir.
of our clients. And to educate your clients, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you need to first educate yourself. And I think
We
the fact that you're here this morning means that you're down for that.
agreed completely. And Kyle, I think, man, maybe at some point we highlight the stream that Ruben and Gabby do on a monthly basis for KW that shows the macroeconomics everywhere, because that'll give you a big picture, but then you get hyper local and see exactly what your area is doing.
That's a great point, man. Good call. Guys, stop starving to death in a grocery store. If you're listening to this and you're with Club K-Dub, KW, we have so many resources available to us, so many people who are way smarter than Marcus and I giving you this information. He just talked about the biggest brain in the business. I like to call him Ruben, and then Gabby, the queen of wealth, you said it was a monthly update on the market.
Yeah, it's streamed with KW. It's on the YouTube. Very easy to find, and shoot, we can provide the link at some point. And
Yeah.
yet we took our market centers through that. And Ruben is never going to sell you a sham wow, and yet he will educate you to a level that you are not familiar with.
That's right. That's right, guys. So like we're talking about, understanding the ground floor, the three main markets, right? Buyer's market, seller's market, and a balanced market. Where are you right now in your micro area?
Mhm.
I need you to understand, just like Marcus said, his market in a micro area is lagging. You need to be able to firmly communicate the macro, what's happening in the national level, as well as what's happening in your state and even your micro area. That is going to help seat yourself as the professional in that relationship. Marcus, when we're talking about those foundational ones, as always, that's the top of the funnel. We like to go down a little further here. There's 6 key factors in the book that he talks about becoming the local expert for your people. Number 1 is inventory.
Mhm.
Man, any listing appointment that I go on, the first 3 on here, I assume that they are the first 3 for a reason, because these are the first 3 that any seller or buyer wants to talk about. Number 1, inventory. What is the month's supply? Now, they may not understand that question, month supply, so it's something that you should be talking about. But what that essentially means is, if nothing else came on the market today,
Mhm.
how long would it take to sell all of the homes that are available?
And Kyle, just so everybody can hear, what is typically a balanced market when we say months of inventory? What typically is a balanced market?
I think a good rule of thumb that's accepted by most people is about 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. If it's down to like 1 or 2, what's that mean?
Oh, buddy, your sellers are sitting pretty.
Yeah, we got bidding wars, we got over ask, we got all things, and then if we take it antithesis up to 12 months or 18 months, all of a sudden buyers are just writing whatever they want. They're
Yeah.
paving their own path.
They are writing whatever they want on that
Yes.
contract, and
Yes.
sometimes they're getting it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
inventory, man. Inventory is the number 1 thing on here to understand. Guys, do you know the days on, or the month supply, not just in your state, not just in your board, but in the area that you designed to be an expert at, or in the area that the sellers live? I know for us, we have parishes and not counties, and they're all touching each other, and they're all vastly different on what their inventory is. Are you
Mhm.
able to talk about it? Number 2 here, Marcus, moving in, days on market. This is probably the number 1 thing that people ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as far as a consumer goes,
Yeah,
right?
consumer.
Because that's the only true education that they've come up with so far. And not an
Mhm.
insult to anyone out there. And yet, days on the market tells so many different stories. I think that if you're sitting down, Kyle, this is what I've done. When I was sitting down, some agents have canceled out the outliers. Like if one home was on the market 128 days and everything else is 60, they just cancel it out. I don't. I keep that in there and I say let's look at the story of our competitors or the most similar homes, because every house has its own story, and the more you really dig in deep, then the conversation doesn't have to be what are you willing to let me list it for. It's, hey, how attractive do you want your listing to be? Let's
Mm.
talk about how we can make yours stand out, whether it's price, whether it's offers, whether it's terms, whatever it is. This is what everybody else is doing. How do we disrupt? And the minute you ask a question like that to a consumer, you find out where their headset is really fast.
Game on, guy, and understand this. This is days on market is an industry term. So be careful on speaking terminology that your consumers may not understand. What you might hear this as is, how long does it take to sell?
Mhm.
So be able to speak the language that they're speaking in. This great quote here by Tiffany Fikes says, every time I'm able to walk into an appointment and from memory talk about the market numbers, it tells my clients that they can trust me to advise them well.
Mhm.
Are you, God, if you, Marcus, we're about to shake them with love. If you go on to an appointment and all just thinking you're going to razzle dazzle it, and you don't take 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour to understand the specific market data that will impact your sellers or buyers' financial future, shame on you. Shame on you. You should be able to talk about it from memory. You should be the economist of choice. That's what they want. That's what they're paying literally thousands of dollars for.
Kyle, I had to shake somebody with love the other day. Not literally. Please don't let that go viral. All right, not
Asterisk.
literally. Right? My goodness. Yeah, young agent, part-time agent. He said, man, this is just it's taking so much work behind the scenes to like get there. And I said, well, how much time you spending? He's like, man, I'm on this thing for like 3 hours. I said, cool. He's got a full-time job. I said, cool. How much money will you make from this? He told me. And then I said, how much do you make per hour? He told me. I said, all right, so the money that you'll make from 3 hours of work and one meeting in real estate is equivalent to 4.5 weeks in the cubicle kingdom. 4.5 weeks, let me do 8 hours per day. You do the math. Stop worrying about the work and stop thinking about what do I have to do and just think about what is the best way to get this done? What is this required to do the best job possible? Get out of that framework of it's hard. Get opportunistic. You are making in one paycheck 20% of somebody's yearly salary. Go earn it.
Go earn it. Do the work. This
Yes.
is when we talked about earlier. It's like when we said stronger agents are going to take market share in shifts. Marcus said very eloquently, I don't mean seasoned.
Mm-mm.
Go do the work. The next thing that they're going to talk about, they're going to ask about, speaking of the work, is prices. Are prices rising or falling? Are they stagnant? What is the trend line? As a listing agent, sellers will expect you to advise them on pricing their home competitively. When you're working with buyers, they want reassurance that they are purchasing a home at a reasonable cost. You must have your finger on the pulse of the pricing in your area, or you cannot advise appropriately, ladies and gentlemen. Do the work. Number 4, super important, the hot button topic of today and the past God knows how long. It feels like forever. Interest rates.
God, it's crazy, man.
Interest rates. He has a great graph in here, and I think everyone should be familiar with, but just some highlights. The historical average from 1972 to 2023 is 7.72.
Mm-hmm.
From
Mm-hmm.
1972 to 2023, the average is 7.72. Interest rates ain't high, baby.
They're not.
High.
Kyle, it's funny to look back. Everybody's like, oh, I gotta wait for interest rates, or people were complaining about interest rates when they were sub 4.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna wait till they drop to 3. What? Like, yeah. If interest rates are the biggest thing that you're getting, then I dare say you haven't found the true motivation for that consumer. Be educated, be willing to look at all these, know your skill. I'm not saying don't. What I'm saying is I highly doubt that is their biggest motivation.
So and it's also getting them to understand what they can afford, right? And he has this great factoid in here, Marcus, and I'm going to keep it in the back of my head. And you've probably heard it, being with the big brain that you have. It says a 1% increase in mortgage interest rates will increase the monthly cost of owning a home on a 30-year by about 10%. A 1% increase in the mortgage rate will increase the monthly cost of owning the home on a 30-year mortgage by about 10%. The ratio also applies to falling interest rates. That's a big chunk of change, man.
It is. It's massive. And yet, I don't think that a lot of people think long term when it comes to money. So, taking a breath, taking a second, and really educating people on that. Yes, their budget is going to be on a monthly basis, and yet you're an advisor for their biggest financial purchase potentially of their life. So, make sure they understand what that financial investment looks like.
That's right. That's right, guys. Also, partner with good lenders who can walk
Yeah.
you through that and help educate yourself. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to go be standing next to some really smart people.
Kyle,
Number
to that point, buddy, I got to share a huge win in the bold room. I learned that a younger agent wasn't truly confident in that interest rate. So what they did was they lined up their listing appointment and then they lined up their lender to be ready via Zoom.
solid.
They logged in on Zoom, had it silenced, brought up the thing and had their sellers meet the loan officer right then and there to discuss everything. Smooth as silk. No downtime, no let me call, no wait. They were ready and waiting. And it was smooth and easy. So guys, you don't have to know everything, yet your team does. Pick your partners.
Hats off to that agent. Shout out. That is incredibly smart.
Right.
Man, here number 5 I think is often slept on, Marcus. Local flavors. And moving on so we can get you guys on your way. Are you the mayor of your own town? When's the last time you played tourists in your own city? Do you know? And he had this line in here, bro, and it hit me because I was like, dang, I don't even know the answer to this question. I've been here since Nam, right? Like he said, do you know what schools have the best soccer teams? Like, do you know it that well? Do you know what schools have the best baseball team? Do you know what schools have the highest academic records? Do you know where the best place to get barbecue is? Like, do you know where different houses of worship are? Like, are you able to explain to them as the professional, as the knowledgeable person of the area? I don't know which schools have the best soccer teams. I'm not doing good enough. That's what I read.
Yeah. I don't know about soccer. I got that barbecue dialed in, though. I'll tell you that.
You know you got that barbecue, boy.
I'm over here.
Number 6, guys, jobs. And I love this one. It goes back to, again, knowing your local market, the local flavor. Are you paying attention to where jobs are being created or where jobs are leaving? Right? It's a big factor in income. It's a big factor in, do people need homes? If Amazon moves in and is going to build a brand new warehouse, that is going to increase jobs, which is going to increase, guess what? Places that people need to stay. It's also probably going to increase the income for the homes in that area. We got to know this stuff.
Yeah, sometimes the most boring local government meetings around zoning and this, that, and the other. Sometimes the most boring meetings are the most informative, and you get to look like you are so cutting edge and knowing everything just because while it's public information, it's not on Facebook. While it's public information, it's not on the news, right? This is usually like 6 months in advance. What if you're the one that's talking about the newest Buc-ee's coming to town, right? For everybody up north, they're like, huh? And that's okay. You'll get there, all right? And yet being that not only a local expert, but local economist of what is coming into the area and how your people can invest.
Dude, that's so good. When's the next Buc-ee's coming? Guys, us in a side here, there's always ways to make money. You just got to be thinking about it. There's a guy who's absolutely smashing it. Speaking about Buc-ee's, is he drives to Buc-ee's, buys a whole bunch of stuff, and then resells it online for people who can't get it because Buc-ee's doesn't ship.
Hilarious.
You just got to get creative, people. There's money to be made. There's market share to take, but you got to get creative and you got to go do the work. Happy Friday to you. Let's finish strong. Me and Marcus are going to hop on our Constellation Home Sales lead generation as a team. We trust that you are doing the same thing today. Marcus Heflin, you're beautiful.
You are too, buddy. Woo! See y'all.
Grow with Kyle Evans.